why don't I call the meeting to order and say hello to everybody. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving, and it seems like the holiday season's off to a quick start. The stores I've been in have been busy, which has been nice to see. But before we get into that, let's first approve the minutes. I sent out 2 sets of minutes to you today, and I hope everyone had a chance to review them. Ruth did her usual stellar job with them, and Jennifer sent a few, I'm just going to call them minor amendments to me, which I'm not sure are worth redistributing to everybody right now, just because it's going to be complicated technically. But were there any questions about the minutes we're distributing, or any suggestions?
Can I just comment that for me, when I left my home office and I'm in the store, I don't ever look at email. So I missed the minutes. They came after I was already gone. So if we could get them the night before, the day before, that would be helpful for me.
I'll note that. I still think that we have enough to vote approval, so I guess I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Of which one?
Let's do of
September 30?
September 30. Yep. And I'd like to approve them both at the same vote if we could. September 30 and November 27th.
Get a motion.
Thank you, Cato. Let's do a roll call vote here. I'm going to go across my screen. Steve Verrill, how do you vote?
I'll half abstain because I wasn't on the September one. I'll vote aye on the later one.
Okay. Deborah, you're abstaining.
Yes.
Cato,
Aye on both.
Beth,
Aye on both.
Jennifer Shinneman.
Aye, Captain.
Aye, Ramon.
Yes, aye on both.
Thank you. Jane.
Aye.
I see Jan Turnquist's name there. Well, your husband.
It's Jan. Aye on both.
Okay, and I'll vote aye on both as well. So I think that is enough votes to approve the minutes from those meetings. And henceforth, we'll be sure we get them out at least one day in advance. So that was my fault. Let's turn it right over to the town. Beth, Stephen, who's going to kick off?
Steven's gonna go first.
That's not what we agreed to.
Yeah, this is what we agreed to. I just spoke first.
Yes. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot happening right now. I mean, the biggest thing was the governor's announcement today at 1 o'clock, where effective Sunday, he's going back to phase 3, step 1, which is going to be reduced outdoor gatherings, reduced indoor capacity, and some other restrictions. So Jane O'Baggy had circulated the handy dandy infographic that shows all of that. So I would have people refer to that. And the other thing is we had a couple of local establishments have some positive cases, and I think it's really important that, you know, it certainly was a reminder for everyone how important it is to make sure that we are following the COVID guidance or COVID requirements from the state, not only in terms of mask wearing, separation of patrons, barriers, all that stuff, but also reporting to the Board of Health. So, we know everybody, we want to try and support everyone as much as we can, but we have to make sure we're taking care of business on that end, because it puts everybody in a tough spot. So, like I said, from a public health standpoint, that's a must do. Parking, I think, is.
You said cases in a couple of establishments.
Yes.
Business establishments, or what do you mean exactly?
Two restaurants.
Restaurants, okay.
2 restaurants.
Yep.
So that's, like I said, that's just kind of a PSA, but it really is more than that. It really is. It's, the case data is going up. I said this in a select board meeting, I think we have felt pretty good in Concord about how we've managed community spread, and we should, because for the vast majority of this pandemic, the town has done an excellent job, but it's happening here, and it is, the cases are on the rise. early on, a couple of weeks ago, we went into the yellow, but that was based, I think, largely, we thought at the time, on the outbreak at MCI Concord, which was significant. And we thought, well, there are walls around that protect us from that surge. But when you take out MCI Concord, the rest of the town is still in the yellow and rising. And so it's really important that we try and get a handle on community spread and reduce cases, which means mask wearing and everything else. And, we don't want to, from the beginning of the pandemic, the enforcement with COVID regulations has been a self-enforcement thing where the towns haven't really been, taking enforcement measures. And we've been hoping to keep it that way. But my concern is that if the cases still continue to rise and Concord ends up going into the red, then we may have to reevaluate our enforcement strategy. And I think that's another thing that nobody wants to do or hear, but is what I think is could potentially be in front of us. So, on the positive side, we're looking ahead to next year, especially January and February, which we've known are going to be some tough months. Even though the parking order expired, the parking, the suspension of parking enforcement and meter enforcement is technically ends December 31st. I've been talking to the police chief, and we may be making a recommendation to extend that beyond December 31st. And so I think that we recognize that it's been I think it has been helpful, and just with we don't think January and February will be the time to do that. So we're kind of making some plans to extend that deadline. And this is kind of a small item, but there's a hearing on Thursday at the State House with regards to our special legislation that we passed at Article 50 at the annual town meeting for liquor licenses, for one-day liquor licenses for special events. And, it's a relatively small thing, but it's something that when we are allowed to have events again, a couple of locations will be able to, hopefully if this gets approved, serve beer and wine without a one-day liquor license. And so for those folks, it'll be, and for nonprofits and everybody else who typically are the hosts or the guests of honor at these events, it'll make it easier for them to have fundraisers with beer and wine and not need a one-day liquor license. So it's a minor thing, but one that it's something to look forward to. I'll just say that. And so Beth, I don't know if you want to pick up from there on where things are in your shop.
Sure. Just briefly, my staff are off staff now for the winter, unless there are private winter tours running. So we updated the website today. If you guys want to take a look, we're running a couple of new winter tours. We are going to do the Emerson Thoreau Amble as a winter tour, and a winter downtown tour and a winter literary tour that does not go up to Sleepy Hollow because getting up to Author's Ridge gets really dicey. So instead we'll be taking our guests out Lexington Road, stopping in front of Orchard House and Wayside and talking about Louisa's time there, the relationship with the Emersons. So it's the Little Women tour, just a little modified. Tours are on demand now. We need 48 hours notice, but I have 4 guides that live in Concord that are pretty much ready to go, and they have winter gear, and we have hand warmers, and we'll be doing that. I've been staffing the desk every day. Today I made $100 worth of merchandise because people came in for their holiday gifts. So that's a huge day for the visitor center. Sometimes we make $2.
Fortunately, she doesn't work on commission.
Exactly. I don't work on commission. And I haven't screwed up the system yet with my staff not there. So it's pretty good news. So I'll be out of the building the next 2 days as they hopefully put down flooring upstairs. But for the most part, I'm in Monday through Friday, most of the day. Signs on the door, website's updated, phone messages are updated. I'll be in and front facing as much as I can. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback that we are there later this season, just because people are out shopping. They need a map. There are a lot of locals. And then moving ahead, doing a lot of planning for the spring. Marcia, do you want to talk about the community grant?
Nope.
Which
She's
The community block grant.
well, It's this,
The
it's
lack
the
of
same
youth.
thing. The four people who successfully applied in the first round have received their funds. They were deposited last Friday. No one submitted applications in the second round. The third round has closed. It's open on an ongoing basis, and when they get to about 30 applications from the various communities, then they'll process those applications. That means there's about $170,000 remaining on the table. If we have just 17 businesses who need $10,000, we will work with whomever to get that funding distributed to you. We have until December of 2021. So Beth and I will be doing a major outreach in January, where we know that the holidays are crazy for everybody, but we're going to make a promoted effort to get this money expended. So that's it.
Marcia.
So one other thing they should mention is the Concord Free Public Library starting Monday morning is going to curbside only. And so as a result of even before the governor had announced and made his announcement, we had already decided and announced that because of the rising cases, and to be honest with you, a lot of the in-person visitation of the library were people from other towns, which is fine. We are a part of a system and there's nothing wrong with that, except their libraries are closed, so they're coming to Concord. And so it was a minimal impact on Concord residents in terms of the number of visitors in person who are not going to be able to go now. But I think, like I said, that's a part of the reality we're in right now. And the rest of our buildings aren't really open to the public per se, except for Beatty Center, which is operating safely in accordance with the guidelines. But I just wanted to let folks know that that's an action we've decided to take based on the public health data.
Thank you. Lastly, I just want to say it was really fun working with Concord Together this week to put on some holiday cheer for giving out people. I assume Jennifer's going to go over the program, but it was a lot of fun, and we made some people really happy. So.
I made a couple of people uncomfortable.
Yes, Stephen's the only one. So far, Stephen is the only one that got turned down.
I got turned down twice. I'm like, no, it's a gift card. Although I don't know if Sharon Spalding posted the video that we made, Beth, but
I posted it.
You posted it
together.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I have to say, a woman came up. We were sitting in the visitor center filming this thing, and a woman came up to use the restroom, and it was like completely unscripted, but the timing was perfect, and we handed her a gift card. It like if I wanted to time it and set it up, I couldn't have done a better job. But people were grateful. It just was a stranger walking around with an envelope was, I think, a little off-putting to at least two people.
Nothing suspect about that, Stephen.
I didn't have any problems getting turned down.
It may just be this. I mean, I'm fine with that.
So for those of you who don't know what this program is, it's Concord Together was trying to come up with another way to just remind people to shop local and to kind of spread some cheer and some fun. So we printed up a bunch of prize envelopes, and we had several people donate gift cards. And let's see if I can share my screen. Hang on. Here we go. So this is what the envelope looked like on the outside, and inside every card is at least a $5 gift card for a Gift of Concord check. And what did we get, Beth? About 150 of them?
Yeah, we had gift checks, and then we had Vanderhoof Hardware, we had Vero Farm.
Mm-hmm. So those are still being given out. We chose not to do it on the weekends because the weekends are already a little busier. And we've been posting on Concord Together and then reposting out about the surprise envelopes to encourage people to get out and about. And then, so we have our little volunteer holiday cheer distributors, and they'll be out again tomorrow. Is tomorrow the last day, or is it this week?
No, Monday. So Hillary's going to do Monday. So you've got tomorrow, and then Hillary's going to do Monday in West Concord. So today we did Thoreau Depot and Concord Center. We've done 9 Acre Farm twice. Yep. West Concord twice, and we'll finish on Monday.
Yeah.
And the Journal did put it ran online. It didn't run in print, but it ran online.
Yeah. So I'll try not to be scary tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
You'll get a hat from Marie. You'll be all set.
Hey, Stephen, can I ask? Oh, I'm sorry, Susan, go ahead.
I just had a question for Beth. Are the hours Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10 to 4 for the visitor center?
No, we're done with that. Was last weekend was the last weekend that I have
Okay.
staff.
Okay.
So what I've done now is all the outgoing messages say, call me. I'll, I'm there. If you see me, you can wave at me and come on in and buy stuff. But all the private tours are by reservation only. I'll do private shopping by reservation, and I'm trying to be there as much as possible, as close to 5 days a week as I can for part of the day. So.
Thank you.
Stephen, I just had one more question for you, which is not strictly about business or economics, but how is Emerson Hospital doing given the surge in Concord? I'm seeing all the, I get the school updates and I see that it seems like, a month ago you would get an update every 5 days. Now they're coming out every day and it's clear the volume, the numbers are going up. How's Emerson?
As far as I know, they are managing. And to be honest with you, Tom Judge, our fire chief, talks to Emerson, I don't know daily, but regularly about a variety of things. And if there was a problem, we would know about it. So I think they're managing. I mean, and this is the kind of perverse thing of the pandemic. The case numbers are at the all-time high, and deaths are rising as well. But the need for the kind of intensive hospitalizations that we saw on the front end have been mitigated by what we've learned on how to treat. So I will say back in the springtime, we did spend quite a bit of time on kind of surge planning with Emerson, and we didn't end up having to really get too far down the path. But I know that if something did happen and we needed to kind of try and figure out some kind of surge capacity, I know enough from our previous planning that we could probably make that happen relatively quickly. But as we sit here now, I'm not aware of any issues Emerson is having.
Good. Okay, thank you. And there's so many good things going on in town. You guys have just been an amazing kind of force of positivity. And Beth, just love hearing all your updates about what goes on in the visitor center. It's great. It's great. Jennifer, you want to do the Concord Together?
Sure. So Concord Together has, been busy. We wrapped up our Fall in Love with Concord passport event, which was really successful. Shifting gears into the holidays, we didn't want to do another passport type event. We felt like we might get a little bit of fatigue around that. So thus the holiday surprise envelopes, doing a lot of posting on social media to encourage people to shop locally. Just today, Sharon Spalding and I collaborated to put together a billboard, sandwich board that's going outside of Middlesex Bank tomorrow to, again, encourage people to shop locally for their holiday gifts. Kind of in tandem with that, the holiday gift guide was distributed to every household in Concord, thanks to many people who came together around that. The companion piece of that is that each day, kind of similar to Jane's program with the gift of the day, we're trying to hammer it in every angle we can. So each day we're posting a different category of gifts that are highlighted in that gift guide, and we're tagging the businesses, and we're again posting the link to the gift guide where people can see it. So that's that, and that will continue up through the end of the year, the end of this month. I think the other big new thing on Concord Together is that we were successful in connecting with the high school Senate and the high school government body. And there is a group of really engaged young people in the high school who are excited by the challenge of creating some activity around hashtag of Team Concord Together. Greg Higgins kind of took the lead in setting this up, and I am now in touch with the head of the Senate body at the high school. And Beth, I'm turning over to that young man the list that I have of all of the business website addresses and social media hashtags, which I've included what you have as well. And they're going to come up with their own plan of attack of the best way to encourage their youth group and their parents to shop locally. And we're starting that now. You know, we may get a nice little hit for the holidays, but it's actually planting a seed for January and February, which is going to be tough. So we're, you know, starting to work now to help everybody in the dark hours before the dawn. So that's probably the next big thing that Concord Together is doing. And then just as another side note, the winter issue of Discover Concord magazine came out today. So it's starting to appear around town. By the end of the day tomorrow, it should be in most of the major distribution points. And yet again, there are multiple, you know, shop local type messages in there, which will also be complemented online.
If you need them, I stuffed the visitor center boxes full of them.
Jennifer?
Outside.
Yay. Yes, someone, I heard my name. What?
Jennifer, this is Jane. Oh.
Yeah.
I was contacted yesterday by someone from the high school who wants to set up an Instagram account. I had contacted Greg last night because I didn't know where this email was coming from, but I responded to her last night, and I'm waiting for another response. But she wants to do a Instagram. I'm reading it on my phone right now. She wants to do an Instagram account of downtown Concord. So I'm waiting for a response from her. So I'll let you know once I hear something back.
Yeah, maybe connect me with that person. I'm just thinking we've got a couple of, depending on what they're trying to achieve, we might want to connect them in either with the town's Instagram or with Concord Together. But I suspect it's related to the conversation that Greg had with the high school yesterday.
Oh, it definitely is. Greg got back to me last night and said it was, and she sounds very interested in doing something.
That's wonderful. Well, if you want to pass that along, I'm happy to loop them in with that other conversation as well.
Okay.
John, you're muted.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. I have been in a couple of shops just in the last week, and I got to say they commented on the Gift of Concord guide. One person said they had sold kind of a whole bunch of things that, you know, the buyer didn't know they carried before, and they learned about it inside the magazine. So I remember when you first brought that idea to the committee and to Concord Together, and it's amazing. It kind of took flight in such a short time, and it's working. So that's awesome. Anybody else have any updates to provide from the front lines? Any of our retailers or restaurant folks or any town managers? Stephen.
I forgot to mention this before. We did end up getting 3 students from the high school who were willing to help local businesses, and we've tried to make those connections. I haven't heard any follow up on whether or not the connections have been made and they've been of any use, but we are trying to grow that program. So if you haven't been contacted by a student and you need some help building, you know, increasing your online profile, let me know or let Beth know, and we can connect you to a student.
Yeah, Jane.
I got a couple of requests, and I sent those to Beth. I don't know if they connected with you, Beth, or not, but hopefully they did.
Yeah, I think everybody is paired up. Artinian Jeweler, Joyce Street, Grasshopper.
Who's this for?
This was we got community service approval to have students help the businesses with their web presence. So I tried to give each student 2 business to hook up with. So I know I did hear feedback from one that said she wanted the help so badly, but she didn't have time to stop long enough to talk to the student and tell them what she needed. So I sort of suspect that might be something that is holding them back. But I do think that once maybe we get through Christmas and New Year's, that can be a longer term process for these students as they help these businesses sort of weather the rest of winter and into the sort of recovery phase.
Mm-hmm. Steve.
Yeah, we had some noticeable results from the magazine that came out with some online sales, things we put in. And we also had a very busy Thanksgiving. The orders averaged smaller, but we had a little more, a few more numbers. I think instead of 2 or 3 families getting together, each one ate less at home separately. And we did several thousand curbside orders Thanksgiving week in a very safe way. And people, we got backed up badly at one time for a little bit on Wednesday, but aside from that, people were generally very happy with it.
It was actually funny. I called Steve's and Deborah's to try to get a turkey. And this is probably, I don't know, 10 days or 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. And both were sold out. And Steve said, actually, I've got one cancellation. It's for a 28-pound turkey. Not this year. Unfortunately.
We actually had 5 people not come and pick up their turkeys, so we would have had one for you after all. So along with Steve, if we're doing a retail report, we found that our sales were down from last year total, not turkeys, which we sold out or thought we had, but we were down about 10%. And so I have to chalk that up to supply chain issues like beeswax candles from California where they're having wildfires. We're not able to get any more. It's amazing the things that we don't think about that have affected everything together with COVID. So we have fewer people coming in and browsing or searching, which is what we count on for this time of year. But again, I feel that we're doing everything safely, and 10% down is, we should be selling. I know other people have done more, but I'm talking about dealing with oats and bread flour and all the little things that get caught. So we feel very lucky with that. My concern is, hearing and knowing what the governor's our marching orders are, is that once again, we're closing down the restaurants and we have to do something for them. So I don't know if every restaurant in town is doing curbside pickup of dinners. I'm assuming that's the case. But that's certainly what I would be doing if I were a restaurant right now.
And from a museum perspective, I just wanted to say from Orchard House, we also had some response for the catalog edition, the Concord Museum, the Discover Concord catalog edition, and we were grateful for that. We're down more like 95%. We're really struggling, but we are grateful for anything that comes our way. So that was a big boost to us to see anybody thinking, oh, they still exist. That's good.
Oh.
And I should have mentioned Jennifer right away too, Jennifer, because I think you have done so much with that magazine, and we had response from it too. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad you can't see my face because I'm blushing right now, but I'm glad it was helpful. That's great.
People come in asking for it at the bookshop. So they're used to picking it up, Jennifer, every quarter. And then the special issue has been really helpful. And I appreciate what you said about planting the seeds for the dark days of January and February. Yeah. Because, we are seeing a flurry of activity now, which we are incredibly grateful for. But there will be very quiet days ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, speaking of picking up the magazine, we talked briefly about having an outdoor pickup thing because our grounds at Orchard House, unfortunately, people don't pay to come on the grounds, but boy, do we get a lot of visitation on our grounds. We still do. So that would be another thing if we want to put the Discover Concord magazine in a.
Dan, I actually just got in a semi-weatherproof container, and I was going to ask you when we could get together and look at that. So let's connect offline and we'll do that. I really appreciate that. That's very
okay. Good.
What I was going to say to Dawn's comment, I don't want to underplay how terrifying January and February must be for restaurants and retail shops. But we have to stay creative and we have to pivot. And one thing I think we may see into January and February is small level gift giving to friends and family to encourage them to stay positive. You know, it's something that I saw a lot through the flower shops, for example. Like book club friends would send a little bouquet to, you know, the 6 or 7 ladies in their book club. Or so we may want, it kind of harkens back to what Marie and Copper Penny and Jeanette Farfali did in the very beginning, where they get together and sort of promote these packages. I know those are labor intensive and hard to make money on, but I would encourage retailers looking to January and February to think small in that sense of like something that's easy to replicate, easy to promote, that we can post around and share around as like a quick pick me up for friends, things that can be sent around, special holidays, and just try to do the best we can to come up with a constant stream of things and events. And, you know, a lot of that can be executed through Concord Together. You know, Beth and I are both very happy to leverage our social media and our websites however we can to help. But yeah, I don't know, Stephen, if you can share with us your thoughts around, I mean, I think today's rollback was inevitable. You know, people insisted on traveling for Thanksgiving, and here we are. We've got Hanukkah and Christmas right around the corner, and then New Year's. So I don't know if you can share with us your thoughts on, you know, are we going to make it till the end of December until there's a rollback? Do you know? Do you have any insights?
I don't have any insight, Jennifer, but I will say that the governor has been, I think, trying to do, you know, after the initial shutdown in the spring, I think he's taken a cautious approach in it, and there's been a resistance to roll things back. And so he had been indicating until recently, he's been getting a lot of pressure from municipalities to do some increased restrictions. And I think today's announcement was a response to that. So I think he wants to do the least amount of rolling back as possible. I think he still wants to reinforce the idea of social distancing. I thought I had, you know, me and my kind of dumb ideas for marketing, but a marketing campaign of, you know, didn't get what you wanted, you know, come find it in downtown Concord. And I was just looking up, like finds like a picture of somebody opening up like the cheesiest Amazon gift, which I believe is the banana slicer. If you Google banana slicer Amazon, you'll laugh all night with the reviews. It's hilarious. And in fact, there were news stories about how this thing, you know, was seen as this really dumb gift. But a picture of somebody opening a banana slicer and being like, oh, and that's how I think maybe you get, you know, and I think you can even resurrect the holiday shopping guide to say you can find it here. But I think you're right. I mean, I've said many times, and Beth's heard me say this at meetings, and I probably said it here, you know, the stress and the totality of all of this hits people at different times in different ways, but it is going to hit everyone. And, you know, I think that's, you know, maybe that's a component to this marketing thing of, you know, gifts. Look, the gift of Concord really is a gift to, you know, ourselves and each other to kind of lift our spirits and like I said, or what are pretty dark times. And that's where I'm hoping if we can have more high school students help. So local restaurants for takeout, but also stores for online shopping. If we can really still continue to build that, we may be able to have that as an outlet.
Dawn, go ahead. And then Ramon.
Dawn, you're muted.
You're muted,
Dawn.
Dawn.
Hear you.
Sorry. I think I came on too dark for the January. I really wanted to do more of thanking Jennifer for planting those seeds of thinking beyond the holidays, because we are busier now, which is great, but we have to really know what's around the corner. And the bundling is a fantastic idea, and having a target group to reach out to, like you say, whether it's book groups or whether it's, you know, the moms who do the lunch bunch, who used to do the lunch bunch with the after preschool or a walking group, just thinking forward like that, bundling and collaborating with others in the area. I'd love to, you know, we do Takeout Tuesday, and so I'd love to maybe try to continue to encourage people to do that. So many of our restaurants are doing the curbside. It would be a nice boost perhaps to make a big wave that way.
Ramon?
Speaking of curbside, so I thought there was a conversation at one point about reserving spaces for curbside pickup at restaurants and retailers. Is there any update on that?
I do remember we had that conversation, and then I think we got away from it as we focused on outdoor dining and leaving the parking for outdoor dining.
I think Marcia might have an update.
No, that's one that just got away from us. I had it in one of the proposals, and then it
Okay.
didn't go anywhere. And we really need to follow up with maybe the Transportation Advisory Committee or working with engineering to Public Works engineering to identify spaces that would be appropriate for curbside pickup and designating them and get the signage up.
Yeah, I think now we'll be, like I said, I think we got away from that idea because we're reserving the spaces for like customers. But now that indoor dining is probably going to be further restricted, I think Ramon, it's a good suggestion to go back to.
Yeah, Needham just did it. They did 10 minutes. Some towns are choosing to just use something that you can cover the meter with. Otherwise, some towns are using like a sign. But that is definitely a big, initiative that a lot of towns are taking upon. And time is of the essence. I mean, the holidays are coming up, and this could be something that retailers as well as restaurants could take advantage of, where they can elect to do it. They don't have to do it, but if they request that they have one, I don't know, 1 or 2 spaces out in front of their establishment where they can just reserve, where people can come and they can just use that as not just unmetered, but also obviously just a short amount of time, so it can constantly turn, where you're not tying up somebody that just leaves their car there all day.
Yep, that's a good idea.
So Ramon, you raise a really good point that's helpful for restaurants, but it's also helpful for curbside pickup for retailers. If we can actively promote that there's a 10-minute pickup spot every, I don't know, one on every block or whatever, then the retailers in turn can promote that they have easy curbside pickup, and you don't have to worry about hunting for a parking space. So that could really help everyone.
I have one little thing, and I've noticed this, but I don't know if it's unique to this year or not, but I've seen a lot of new residents to Concord coming downtown and really interested in buying Concord stuff, maps, books, you name it. So much so that I ordered the onesies. I don't know if I told this group, but we ordered onesies that say, "I came, I saw Concord," because grandparents were coming in saying, "I can't see my grandkids this year. I want to send stuff that represents my town." So I didn't know what there is in existence in the town to reach new residents. But yeah, I talked to a parent today whose daughter and son-in-law just moved. She bought 3 books for me. And that's all I carry. I carry a book that goes to the Friends of the Library, a book that goes to Sleepy Hollow, and a book that the benefits go to the DAR. So, but she bought all of them because they just moved to town. So I don't know if that's an untapped market. I don't know if that's an interesting market for the retailers and the restaurants. But, if you have new people moving to town and they're stuck at home in a new town, what can we do for them? Or how do we make sure that they know about everything? And I know Jennifer mailing everything to the houses, to each individual residents, made it probably a huge impact. But how do we keep them engaged?
That's a great idea. I'm writing this down because that could be a post. I've become very familiar with the merchandise of most of the stores in town now, and a lot of them have fun little Concord related items. We could do a couple of posts around that. Also, we don't really have anyone in this group that represents real estate, I don't think. But that's a great idea to team up and maybe proactively offer welcome bundles to realtors. They often will give a welcome gift to folks who close on a house. And the sort of go-to is either a wine and cheese basket or something like that. But I know both Bettina Green and Joy Street have 01742 pillows. Maybe we could put together, and again, this might be more of a Concord Together thing, but we could put together a little checklist of Concord related items and the stores where they're from, and just mail that around to all the realtors in town and have a super easy checklist that they could put together their own little welcome packets. And, you know, real estate is one industry that is doing very well despite the pandemic. So maybe that's another way to support various local businesses.
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep a running list in my head. So when people call, like I'm looking for a Concord map or I'm looking for the book or, you know, I try to send them. And I think the shops, at least in Concord Center, do a really good job of not duplicating. So, you know, I only carry the super like nerdy history books that go, you know, some, you know, like Concord's old houses, things like that, you know, and I know what Marie carries. I know what Dawn has in the store. I know what Barrow has in the store. I know what Patina Green has. So I think you're right. I would love to like figure out how to approach those realtors and say, you know, when you're giving, give, you know, yeah, sure, go to Concord Liquors, but, you know, think about getting a Concord sign or welcome to Concord or something.
Well, why don't we just develop that?
Okay.
Okay.
So it's, I think we should actually just reflect for a moment that it sounds like a lot of the stuff that happened over the course of the summer and the fall really did make a difference for the retailers in particular, right? I mean, it seems like volume's up. I mean, in terms of, you know, people, we wanted to make people more aware of the need. We wanted to start the holiday shopping season early. The town got the, you know, the decorations on the light posts out early. It seems like a lot of that has worked, which I mean, I think kind of we should congratulate ourselves, and there were a bunch of people who made that happen, but that's great news. I still am troubled by the fact that it seems harder to help the restaurants.
Yeah.
I don't know what we can do, because I think just the simple fact that people don't want to dine inside is a problem, right? And I guess, you know, Ramon, I'm curious, I mean, is there anything on your wish list that is feasible but hasn't happened yet that would really move the needle? Because I mean, yeah, putting, you know, parking in front of a restaurant certainly makes it easier to do the curbside pickup. That's great. But what else can we do, whether it's through awareness or through policy or something else that will even begin to move the needle to help you in that regard? Steve?
Is there any research out about the effectiveness of the air purifiers and whether that would allow an increase in density in a safe manner?
Good question.
I can't comment on the research, but I can tell you that either way, it's the governor's orders are going to restrict capacity. Either way, on indoor dining. So it's like Steve, it's not like, you know, 25 or 40% capacity in restaurants unless you have air purifiers, and you can go to 60%. That's not, they're not going to divide it that way. The state is not going to do that.
Might depend on how long this goes on.
Well, that's an excellent point. And what about, I guess I asked Ramon, like, what about the sale of restaurant gift cards? I mean, does that help in the short term?
It does in the short term. Unfortunately, it causes problems in the long term, right? Because it's a liability until people until they come in and redeem them later. But you know, we are doing some promotions. We're doing a gift card promotions. I think people are getting it, but I think it's just awareness. It's just strictly a volume. Like we, you know, just even with just takeout, there's not enough people getting takeout. You know, Concord is an interesting microcosm. Like, you know, our Newton location is definitely busier than Concord for a few different reasons, but you know, we're trying to have, it's awareness, you know, just, you know, somebody mentioned, you know, the Takeout Tuesday, I think Don mentioned Takeout Tuesday, just doing things like that where we can get people to really focus in on something like that, you know, as an initiative. Like in different towns, we've done stuff like, you know, every day of the week was some sort of like, you know, Thirsty Thursdays and Takeout Tuesdays and things like that. But, you know, really, if we can even drive the takeout, because, you know, there is a capacity issue, which we're not meeting. We don't have the people, our restaurants are not full all the time, even with a lower capacity. So it's just that people are not coming out. They're not as comfortable dining in, you know.
Ramon?
Yes?
So I keep thinking about, so I have this small group of friends that every Friday we do, you know, quote, driveway drinks. It's got to be outside. Now it's more like fire pit, freezing, but you know, it's still there. And in thinking about a quick and easy way for sort of one person in that group to pop by and pick up food for everybody that's easy to eat outside with your fingers, like pizza is a great example, but like Trails End does Flatbread Fridays, and I think a lot of their business comes from those type of groups. So I don't know if there's a space there that maybe Fiorella's can fill of sort of things that are self-contained, like you could pick up, you know, meals for say 6 or 8 people, each has their own box, so it's kind of socially distanced friendly. I mean, it's kind of the opposite of, you know, the family food that is typical at Fiorella's, but, and I don't just mean for Fiorella's, I'm just looking, I don't think we have any other restaurants here today. I'm just trying to think, is that a space that could then later be extended to say high school students that are grabbing a snack after practice of some sort, or just like you could sell it more in bulk, but that are smaller portion. I don't know, maybe you've already looked into that.
I was going to say, Jen, we actually, my neighbor and I had that same conversation about doing sort of neighborhood by neighborhood, and then having, you know, the owner or the chef or whoever maybe give, I don't know, you know, it's hard when you have crowds of people outside, but, you know, come and give like a talk about the food or about their restaurant. And then you sort of take that and you do that maybe, you know, like I'm over here on Park Lane and we have like that, you know, we have Ramon come and then we have someone from wherever, you know, once a month or every other week or something. But you could take that to different neighborhoods around town. And I'm sure we could put together sort of groups, you know, John could come up with something for the Ridge, you know, just sort of thinking about people in neighborhoods. I like that.
Yeah, we're open. I mean, we've explored family meals. We have individual, you know, we call them like bag lunches. Like we were doing that for all the healthcare workers and offices. And so an individual meal, individual bag and, you know, we're trying. I think it's just the awareness. I'm not sure what's going to move the needle enough, but at this point, we're grinding it out. I mean, we're pretty much trying, you know, every dollar helps, and we've cut our expenses down to the bare bone minimums, but to try to, you know, I mean, weekends, everyone's coming out, right? But you can't sustain a business with the weekends. Like Friday and Saturdays are busy, you know, but it just doesn't sustain, you know, we need more of that to be able to get by, to make the week work.
Brainstorming, I know we're just, again, we got a lot of creative people here, so I hope we can kind of spark some more creative juices.
Cocktails by the fire pit keep people warm. You can do takeout cocktails now, can't you, Ramon?
Definitely, yeah.
What about items that are easy to put on a stick and grill over a fire pit? Like, you know, seriously, something, it's like a do-it-yourself campfire meal. I mean, that's literally what my friends and I are doing every Friday night is, you know, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of what's easy. And, you know, cocktails by the fire are a great idea because people are not going to, you know, make them on their own, but they might be very happy to have some sort of toasty cocktail with, you know, even if it's just something that stays hot long enough to eat it easily with your hands by the fire. I don't know.
The idea I wanted to raise was one of my friends in New York started one of the Feed the Front Lines things, and her husband, I think, owned 5 restaurants, and they kept themselves in business kind of through the spring, you know, into the summer, by basically having a website where people went and they made donations to pay for meals to the front lines. I'm just thinking about things that would add volume, Ramon. I wonder if there are, if you and other restaurants could, you know, kind of could drive a similar initiative, not only for the Emerson Hospital folks, but by all accounts, you know, the food pantries are busier than ever. I don't know how the congregate living places are doing, but are there other audiences for whom you could say, we're going to provide meals and people can make a donation to Fiorella? So it's not a charitable gift, but it's money that's going to go to buy 10 meals for healthcare workers, buy 20 meals for healthcare workers. And it would kind of allow the throughput to stay up at your restaurant. I mean, have you done that any place?
So we did that in the beginning, and I think people just got fatigued at this point with it. You know, I completely agree, and it'd be great if we could. I just was on a Needham call this morning, and we kind of brought up that same point again, where you know the frontline workers are getting, you know, I think, you know, with the second surge of, they need it. You know, it's a matter of who can organize the logistics of making that work. So you had people like the Rotary, or there was a few different organizations that were, you know, even with different chambers, like spearheading it, even some real estate people, and they were doing some fundraising, and then they were reaching out in rotation with restaurants. We tried to do some things, but it's really difficult to try to rally your own clientele for that. You know, we're
Fuel the Fight group here.
sorry.
Fuel the Fight.
Yes, that, yeah, we were working with them as well. Absolutely, yes. They were great as well. So there's definitely a number of them. It's just trying to get that rekindled and in that consistency.
I heard about a group that's planning to make put together a grants program for all the restaurants in the Back Bay. It's going to be some guys like straight out grants, as I understand it, to do a lot of restaurants, and they're raising a lot of philanthropic dollars for that. And I wonder if we could do something similar here, you know, because I think that again, the impression I have is the retailers are scraping by. For the restaurants, it seems like, you know, you're not able to, you know.
So John.
Yeah.
The Concord Together Fund still has money. Not a single restaurant has applied. So I don't know what to say there. Like, there's $4,000 grants. I know that's not a ton of money, but no one has applied from the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the dollar amount isn't high enough, if it's just the sort of like trying to keep your head above water panic that doesn't allow space to contemplate and apply, but
I think it's not only the dollar amount, which doesn't even cover a month's rent for most people, I'm sure, in the restaurants, but also from what I've heard, there's a lot of paperwork involved.
for the Concord Together grant?
No, the
other
whatever
one.
the
Yeah.
grants, that haven't been claimed, yeah.
Yeah, the community block grant we are very aware that there's a huge amount of work involved. So that's one thing Marcia and I are going to tackle in January, is figuring out how to help with that. But the Concord Together is a very streamlined application.
All right, well, listen, why don't we take this challenge to the Concord Together group this next meeting of creating a calendar, even if it's once a week, you know, to create a calendar, to appoint a captain, to see if we can raise money to do a group meal for a different entity each week. And, you know, it could be the frontline workers. We talked about the food pantries. What about nursing homes? People can't visit at nursing homes. I'm sure that the residents at the nursing homes are tired of eating the same food. Wouldn't it be nice to, you know, send something different their way? And I don't know that this committee has the pivot power to do this quickly, but maybe we bring this over to Concord Together especially for January, as something they can really sink their teeth into, no pun intended.
Good idea. Good idea. Okay. Anything else in terms of updates or ideas? Jane?
But not an update. Well, I don't know if we're going to get to the question that I emailed you all earlier about.
Why don't you introduce the issue? Yeah.
Okay. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, I received an email from Concord Optical, and apparently he was contacting me to find out if permits were required for mobile stores. And apparently an optical mobile unit showed up on Thoreau Street in front of his store. And he was very upset, rightly so. So I suggested that he call the police, because I didn't know, I'd never heard of a permit being issued to a mobile retailer. And he did contact the police, and I thought it was also safer if he didn't want to approach the mobile van by himself. So the police checked into it and said, because there was no, I assume based on, I reread the email this afternoon, based on the fact that there were no restrictions on parking, he decided, or the mobile operator decided to go there, which caused George some consternation because it's an impact on his business and he's been there for a while. So I thought I would raise that because I wasn't aware that you could do that. And I don't know if there's been any resolution. Stephen, you were going to look into that, or what? I mean, is that allowed in Concord? This is the first I've ever heard of it. And it was just really unfortunate for George.
So Dan, I sorry to jump out. I'm in my car, so I can't see anyone. But I've done we've done an analysis. The same thing happened with a mobile bike shop, Jan. So we, it's not. They don't have a permit to do it. It's a parking issue. So we've tackled it from a different angle. I'd be happy to share our sort of findings with you if that would be of interest.
Okay.
Okay.
Jane, Stephen, I think is still waiting to hear back from the chief too.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to get it.
Email earlier that he was going to check in with the chief of police and find out what he might know about that particular van.
Ran into kind of a similar issue in the early fall with some political groups who were essentially parking a huge bulletin board promoting their candidate in a way that was blocking even being able to see like Graham Nuts and Cafanero, very similar thing. And it was hard to make them leave because there was no parking limitations at that point.
And it's my understanding that for those who stand on the street and hand out pamphlets, they have to have permission from Concord to do so. Because I know they used to stand in front of the visitor center all the time. And every time I'd walk by the visitor center, I would be asked, do I want to buy this? And so I thought it was odd that a mobile optical unit could come in and not have to have a permit.
So they do need a permit. Stephen said he heard back from the chief.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
So I would go back to George and say, you call the police, they're supposed to have a permit, if he sees them there again.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Or it looks like our public audience has dropped off. John Hickling was here. He's the contact for the finance committee.
Sorry, where's the information about the Conquer Together grant?
And I can send it to you again, but it's also on concordtogether.com. Right on the homepage, there's a link right through to the application.
Okay, because I'm on that homepage and it's
go right on Concord Concord Community Chest. You can also find it there.
Oh, that's the same one. Okay, because I can't find it on the Conquer Together homepage. Just as an FYI, it might be me, but I feel like I looked at everything on here. But the community chat.
I just made some changes to that site about 4 days ago. And,
Ramon, I still have the link on the Concord Chamber of Commerce website as well. It's kind of buried under the COVID-19 stuff, but it should be there. But if you go on the Concord Community Chest, you should be able to find it.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that one. I just was I wasn't sure if the Conquer Together one was different.
I'll send it to you, Ramon. And if you need any help at all with it, just reach out to me offline. I'll be more than happy. I've helped about 12 businesses through the application, so I'm a whiz kid at it. Be happy to help you check it out.
Thank you.
all right, anybody else have anything they want to raise before we close?
Ramon, you're right. I just looked at the website. It did change. So it's not front and center. You're absolutely right.
Okay, great. I wasn't sure if it was just me, not sorry. Thank you.
I guess the only thing I want to say to everybody, because I think, is this our last meeting until New Year? I don't think we're meeting on the week of Christmas, right?
I think that's probably a fair meeting.
Yeah, I don't think anyone in retail is going to want to meet on December 22nd. So just, hang in there, guys. And when we come back together it's probably going to be that first week in January. Concord Together is going to keep moving forward. We'll come up with new ideas. Meanwhile, if people think of things, there's several of us out there, and just keep the faith, you can do this.
You're here. All right.
I like the inspirational coaching. Thank you.
I love it. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh,
I'm
wait,
sorry.
no,
Oh, wait.
adjourn. Wait.
No, not to be- we don't have a roll call adjournment. Okay, Steve,
I,
I'd like to challenge you to make would you please make a motion to adjourn?
I move the meeting be adjourned.
And how do you vote?
Second.
Steve.
Steve votes yes. Deborah?
Aye.
Deborah votes yes, and Jennifer got a copy of the winter issue. It's fantabulous.
Oh, I do like it.
Jennifer Shinneman, how do you vote?
Vote aye, Captain.
Jane?
Aye.
Beth?
Aye.
Ramon?
Aye.
Cato?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye, and happy holidays to everyone.
Go check out Deborah's windows if you haven't. They're so amazingly full of the most magnificent menorahs ever.
Yay.
Mark, you
Thank
get
you.
to last.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I vote in favor as well.
Dan, I.
Everybody. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
The odds ever be in your favor.